Three steps to prevent burnout in a leadership role. ChaCha Method interview with Kyla Cofer. Are you a leader who struggles with self doubt and putting you at risk of burnout? Are there ways you can overcome this self doubt and prevent burnout so you can share your gifts with the world with confidence and joy? Yes, there are. And if you want to learn them, you're in the right place. Our guest today is going to share the top three steps for every leader to thrive in a leadership role, including tips to overcome self doubt, find your authentic voice, and live a well balanced life full of confidence and joy. You are watching Happy and Healthy Mind program, episode 129. And today our guest is Kyla Cofer. Kyla is a thought leader, as a podcaster, leadership coach, keynote speaker, and writer. She helps leaders excel. Her work focuses on burnout, embracing failure, and podcasting. She's the creator of the Leadership School podcast and Podcasters Go. And I'm your host, Dr. Rosina Lakani. I help leaders eliminate burnout. You see, I have been helping people come out of severe depression and anxiety over the last 26 years. As a psychiatrist, I realized the root cause of many of the mental and physical illnesses is chronic stress. Therefore, in these programs, we share tips for mental fitness so you could eliminate stress, especially stress induced burnout, develop mental resilience to prevent illnesses, and live your best life with hope, health, and happiness. This program is for educational purposes only. So please consult your healthcare provider for any specific medical advice. All right, so let's jump in. Thank you, Kyla, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here with you
We are excited to learn from you. So tell us, how did this topic become important in your life?
because I got burnt out. I mean, we all learn from our past, right? So, and the things that tend to interest us are because we've experienced them. So I experienced burnout several times. The two significant moments are when I was working volunteering with a nonprofit. I volunteered with a nonprofit for 5 years straight. Every it was only once a week. Well, technically once a week, but when you're volunteering and something's important to you, you end up spending a lot more time. So, I realized that once a week doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually took a lot of my energy and my effort because we were a founding nonprofit. It was an organization here in Nashville, Tennessee, to serve meals to the homeless community, the houseless, and build community. So it wasn't just meals; it was relationship building. And I was on a founding board member and put just so much of myself into that organization. At the same time, when I started, I was actually jobless and completely broke and almost homeless myself. Thankfully, I had friends to stay with. So I went through that experience, and then I was working and volunteering basically full time, and I kind of worked through that burnout and ended up leaving the organization because I needed some recovery. And I was going to take a short-term sabbatical, and I ended up never returning because I just really needed the rest. Well, then fast forward a few years and I became a parent, and I was a full-time stay-at-home parent with a new job that I was working from at home with the new skills that I had to learn in this new job. It was a part-time job. At the time, my husband, he was working full time and then going to school part time at night. So he would go to work, he'd come home and change clothes, and then he'd leave again. And I was home all day with a newborn infant, having just come through a very stressful job to start a new job with having to learn new skills, and it was a lot. It was just too much. I was physically suffering, I was mentally suffering, and my relationships were suffering, and I was just so burnt out that I just didn't know what I was gonna do, and so this is the point when I decided that I had to do something different.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our listeners could relate to that. Before we jump into what helped you come out, tell us how life is different once you applied some of the tools you're going to teach us today.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was actually just thinking about this today because I still have instances regularly of, I don't know, not doing well, where I have a day or a week where I'm just the nothing is right in the world. But the way it's different now is in the past, those would last for weeks or months. I remember one of my major depressive episodes actually lasted for a year, and and then they'd shortened down to like a few months. Now a bad day, a bad week might last a couple of hours or a day. And I know what to do and I know why it's happening. I understand myself. I understand what I need to do to get well and to take care of myself. I know what's causing it. And so it's just so much easier to maintain a standard of health for myself mentally and physically. And again, that's not to say that like I have this happy, perfect, joyful life where everything is perfect all the time. Like that's just not happening for me personally, but it is 100 times better than it used to be, and a lot of it in the past was also intermingled with, self-doubt and insecurity, and I don't even struggle with those at all anymore, and if I do, it's really maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then I go, "Wait, wait, no, no, we're done with that," and then I move on, and I'm able to move through it much more quickly.
Yeah, yeah. It's wonderful. Yeah, we always say that if emotions are all this straight, that would be abnormal. So we call it
Yeah.
flatness of emotion. The emotions have to go up and down, a little bit up when things are going well, a little bit down when things are not going as well. But if you kind of go in really down, and then you stay down and you're not able to pull out, then it becomes kind of the illness.
Mhm.
But going down and coming up, that's normal part of emotional life, normal emotionality. So that's great that you have been able to reach there. So yeah, please share with us your tools and tips that helped you go from point A that you were describing before to this after picture that you reached.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a three-step method, the ChaCha method. But before I even get into that, the number one thing that helped me was acknowledgement and awareness. And that kind of filters through the whole method. So it was really just a moment of something's got to be different. And if I want something to be different, I have to be the one to do something different. So my three steps are connect, heal, act, repeat. So CHA, repeat. And when I'm doing this in person with you, I actually teach you how to cha-cha so that you remember it in your body and your mind. It's really fun. We just do a little dance and do a little rhythm, and then you connect it with what you're actually learning. But connection, I start there. And this is what I did. So for me, connection means both internal and external connections. So connection isn't just about like talking to people or getting help or spending time with friends. It's about reconnecting to knowing who you are and what you love and what makes you happy, healthy, whole person. So, like, if you really love being outdoors, but you haven't been outdoors in 2 weeks, like, you need to reconnect by spending some time out in nature. If you really love making things and being creative, but you haven't had time to do that, you've got to reconnect to that because that's part of you. So that connection has to happen. Think about your hobbies. It's like, what are the things that you spend time with? Whether it's grilling or, like I said, being outdoors or making something, like what those hobbies that you have are and those interests, you've got to bring yourself into those. So that I spend a lot of time talking about that. You have to have that time. And this can be hard for extroverts because they're like, but I have to be out and going and doing all things. But you need that time that's invested in you. Because if you aren't well, then everything else isn't well around you.
Yeah.
So focusing on that time with connection internally and then externally, you do need other people. Even introverts need other people. You have to have other humans in your life. We're built and born for connection. And does that mean that you have to be around people all the time? No, because everybody has their different levels of how much other people time they need. But that's one of my triggers is I notice if I am having a really bad week, a really bad day, I have not felt well connected to myself or somebody else. Have I had any time with friends? I had a really good day yesterday because I spent the morning like hanging out with a friend, and that felt really good because I needed that personal connection. So doing that connection. Then the step H is healing, health, and that's really just being aware. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something? I keep
Yeah,
going. So
yeah. I just wanted to kind of reflect a little bit on what you said with connection. I think it's absolutely necessary to have this connection with both yourself and supportive people around you. One of the prevention methods to help reduce the risk of burnout and depression is social connectedness. We have done there's studies that have done showing certain strategies that decrease, even people who have depression and anxiety, decrease the depression and anxiety by 36 to 42%. Like there are five wellness tools: nutrition, sleep, exercise, mindfulness, and social connectedness. And so
Mm.
you are talking about being mindful, present in the moment, connecting with yourself, connecting with nature and things that you like, and then social connectedness. So those are important things for from mental health viewpoint. So yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, for me personally, when I mean, I have a long history of anxiety and depression, which I really don't deal with as much anymore. They come up, but not like they were, and, um, the number one thing that helps me is telling somebody. It's all and honestly, for me personally, I'm not saying this works, this is not like a magic pill to work for somebody, but for me personally, if I just say to somebody, "I'm not doing well, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling unwell," it, like, goes away. It's like this lamp that turns on. We were when we got started here, I had too dark of a room, so I had to get a lamp set up, and we've got a light back there behind me, but it was like, you have this light on, and then everything's brighter, and things change, and for me, that works really well, that connection does. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So
Yeah.
connection, and then what was the second one you started talking
Yep,
about?
H is for heal, and heal covers a lot of things. It's our physical and mental health. So, asking yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you with your physical health? 1 being like, let's be honest, maybe you should turn this off and go be in the hospital, and 10 being like, you're in the best shape of your life, you're going to go run a half marathon in the morning, like all of that. So, keeping in mind with that is that everybody's made to do different things. So, this is just asking the question, what do you need your body to do? And is it doing that for you? And are you continuing to move your body in a way that it can keep going and doing those things for you? So this doesn't mean you have to be in the gym like every single day for 5 hours a day. This just means that you need to move your body. And some of us have limitations on what we can do with our bodies, being aware of that. But are you doing what you can for that? And then mental health, the same thing. Number one being rate yourself. I love rating scales because they like let you know where you are, right? They tell us and kind of alert us. Oh wait, if I'm a 3, I'm really not. Maybe I need to do something. Saying my mental health is at a 1, so honestly, I should probably go get some serious help. Or my mental health's at a 10. This is awesome. And just like you said at the beginning, we are never going to be at a 10 all the time. Like we ebb and flow and go up and down, and that's perfect. That's a normal life. But if we're like always at a 1 or a 2, then that's where we need to start noticing, oh, what can I be doing differently? What can I pay attention to and be aware of to put myself in a better mental state or better physical state? And that leads straight into a action.
Just kind of reflect a little bit. It is so wonderful to hear you talk about self assessing where you are. And it's different for different people. So like the coaching program that I do is kind of we personalize coaching to each individual based on their own genetics and biomarkers, because each person's needs are different. Their body metabolizes things differently. The exercise that they do, like, for one person aerobics may be great, and for another person stretching is more appropriate. For one person intermittent fasting is better. For the other person, eating more regularly is better. And so each person is individual. And yes, so self-assessing where you are, and going from there. So great. I'm really excited about sharing that point.
Isn't that amazing? How can we have this many people on earth and all of us be so different? It's incredible.
Yeah, each person has different genetic markers, and each person is unique within themselves. So
It is just miraculous to me and amazing and incredible, and we spend a lot of time trying to fit in or be the same, but that's just not possible because we're not,
yeah,
and we weren't ever made to be that
yeah,
way.
yeah. We are meant to be unique within ourselves. So yeah, and that's the beauty.
It can be scary though, right?
Yeah.
Like, we feel like we're gonna be misunderstood, but it feels scary if we're too different, but that's just part of the miraculous thing about this life is having that. And I forget that. So I'm speaking to myself right now. I need these reminders right now. So, I mean,
I
it
do the same thing. I say, Rosina, you need to hear yourself.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason I kind of attach the H to the A because they really work together. It's like you can't dance without moving your feet. It's not enough to know how. You got to actually do the movement. So A is action. Okay, you know that you're supposed to connect. You know you're supposed to pay attention to your health. Think, oh yeah, that's cool to do an assessment, 1 to 10. Well, stop right now. It's podcast. Pause it. Stop right now. Actually think, where am I right now on a scale of 1 to 10? How am I actually doing? Does that number surprise you? Does that number tell you anything? And if you don't like scales, just think about like, how are you doing in your life? Do a moment to really reflect. How much time have you spent connecting with people? But then go and do it. You have to move your feet. You have to take those actions or move your arms or your chair if you're in a chair, wherever that is. You've got to move and take those steps forward. And I saw somebody write something recently and they said, "No one is coming. Just know that nobody is coming." And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way at first because I don't think that's entirely true, but I get the sentiment behind that. And I appreciate the sentiment is that we have to take charge and control of our own lives. And if we are sitting back and just waiting for FedEx to knock on the door and be like, "I'm here to save and rescue you," we would probably be totally creeped out. We would go, "Wait, no, I please, I'm calling the police. Like, I don't know who you are and why you're at my door." But we somehow still expect somebody else to come save us. And we can take responsibility for our lives and for whatever we can. There keep in mind, like, I'm fully aware that there are some people who are not physically or mentally able to do that. So, there's plenty of space for this. I'm not saying that if there are problems in your life, it's your fault and your problem. Like, that's just not what I'm saying. But I am saying that you can maintain some sense of responsibility and control over your own life and your own decisions. And sometimes that's scary. Sometimes it calls for making really hard decisions, having tough conversations, being willing to like go there. But when you do that, you're so rewarded and you come to the other side of this life going, this is the life that I wanted. And this is the life that I was meant to have. And yeah, there's like, night and there's day. And sometimes things don't make sense, but I'm right in the middle of where I was supposed to be. And how amazing is that? And sometimes it really takes us to get off our feet, take those steps, and go do it. And when I did that, when I said, okay, I need time to myself, I need to take charge of something, I need to make connections with friends. I jumped into the world of coaching and I found coaching. And through coaching, I started to have self belief. I reduced my anxiety. I found like confidence in myself, tons of confidence in myself. I mean, 5 years ago, I never could have done an interview like this. I just couldn't have. I would have said no one wants to hear from me. Who am I to talk about any of this? But here I am because I started going slowly and it's not like you get to the top of the mountain when you stand at the bottom and look at it. You have to train for it. Then you start climbing slowly and you slowly get up there
But you have to make the decision. You have to make that choice. You have
and
to,
put in the work.
yeah, become aware and then act on it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, nothing is going to move until you take action.
And not expect someone else to climb the mountain for you. You
Right.
and your psychiatrist, your coach. I mean, we can be there and support you, and that's what our job is, and we'll see, "Oh, put your left hand here and your right hand there and move your foot up." We can see those kinds of things, but you still have to climb.
Yeah.
You have to do the work, and I had to do that, and I really had to realize that because when I had one of my first major depressive episodes, it was in college, and I had this mentality of I expected someone to save me, and I expected that things would be easy or that I'd be taken care of, and, I just didn't understand that I could be responsible for myself, and I could set boundaries, and I could say yes to things, and I could say no to things, and I could show up, and I could not show up, and I could be free, and I just didn't understand that. It took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah, so sometimes people, when they are kind of feeling this down, they kind of feel helpless. They feel like they
Mhm.
cannot do anything to help themselves. But even when we are doing medication, even when we are doing advanced treatment, I tell them, okay, so medication or external support is like a ladder, a stool. If you need to pick something from the high up and you are not able to reach, we can give you the stool so that you can climb up and reach, but you still have to raise your hand and take that thing that you want. Just
Oh, I love
getting the
that.
tool is not going to get you the thing. It just allows you. So if you're like really deep, deep depression and you're not able to feel any energy or motivation, this medication can give you this boost, but you still have to do the work.
Yes, exactly, or like we were talking about climbing the mountain, you can put the harness on, but the harness isn't gonna get you up the mountain, you've gotta climb it, and yes, it's all about understanding what you're responsible for, that you are responsible for your life and what you want in your life, and owning the decisions that you've made, and being really curious for yourself, like, "What is it that I dream of? Can I have that dream? What is even possible?" And I'm here just to say that if you have a dream, that's because there's something in you that is ready for it to come out. Like, that dream wouldn't exist if you weren't capable of doing it. But there are a lot of obstacles to getting there.
Mhm,
There are, and that's okay. That's part of it, and we're all in it. There's nobody who's ever met any level of success who didn't meet obstacles.
mhm,
It's about how can you get through them and own that this is something that you can do and you can figure out. So, when you start with connecting to other people, finding that support, connecting to who you are, who what do I want for my life? Who do I want to be? And what brings me joy? What makes me feel alive?
mhm.
Doing those things, paying attention to your health and well-being, and then taking those steps, it's just amazing. I mean, my promise to you, to anybody listening, is if you do those things, the entire world will open up for you and you will have a life that you just had never even imagined was possible.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when we started, started talking about these steps that would really help anybody in the leadership role. So leaders are kind of at higher risk of burnout, and so we are talking more generally in terms of something that's going to help anybody to overcome this, or prevent the burnout. How is this self doubt linked to burnout? Share a little bit more so people can understand why we were connecting both of those things together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think self-doubt comes with survival mode. When we can get into this mode of, I don't believe in myself enough to go beyond or for my life to go beyond. I just have to get through today. And sometimes we do. Sometimes there's seasons of life where you just have to get through. I had a newborn infant and I had a husband who was gone all the time because he had to be, and I just had to get through those days. But when you can um care about yourself enough to separate and look at your life and think about what you want for yourself, that could grow a little bit different, but you can get out of that survival mode. But if you don't believe that that's possible for yourself, then you're not gonna take those steps to start looking differently at your life. And you'll constantly tell yourself the stories of, "It doesn't matter because I'm not worth it anyways." You tell yourself, "I can't do it because I wasn't born for that. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough dreams. I don't have enough something." And you just tell yourself that you're not enough. And you tell yourself that so much that you start to believe it. And your body and your mind just kind of start to shut down. And burnout comes in. So, burnout is a lot of things. And I know you talk about this on your show and what burnout actually is. But, burnout is the mental and emotional. I've just completely blanked on the definition. I've said it so many times, but it's stress. It's from overwork or overstressed, and mental, emotional, physical exhaustion from overwork or stress. There we go. So to be completely exhausted from that stress, and we create that stress sometimes ourselves of I can't, I'm not enough. And when we're creating that stress constantly, it just leads our bodies and our minds to shutting down, and we can't move beyond that until we can allow ourselves to step away from it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know of a lot of people who get to the leadership position and they feel like they're an imposter, like the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
They say, "I'm not good enough. They just kind of did a mistake. They just kind of put me over there, and I'm not capable." And so they're self-doubting, and because of their self-doubt, then they're overworking and they're trying to keep proving, when actually if they are just themselves, they have proven themselves. Like I met a friend in a conference, and so she was talking about how she, when she was promoted to this leadership position, she felt that they may have done a mistake, or they did it, they put her in this role because there was nobody else, and she could not see that you had proven yourself. That's why they put you in that role.
Mm.
Not, it was not the mistake, but they are able to see what you are bringing to the table, you are not able to see. And so then she was just kind of overworking and overdoing and trying to do so much that she was getting burned out. And so I think there's this big role of, when there is the self doubt, then you are not able to keep this work life balance as well.
Mhm.
And then your risk increases.
And you're not asking for help. You think, "Oh, I have to prove myself. I have to do it all on my own, to show them that I can do all this. I have to say yes to everything.
Yes.
Can't tell my boss no.
Right.
I can't turn anything down. I have to just do it all."
Yeah. Yeah. And then in that process, then you're also not able to share that this is too much, or like, you're getting overwhelmed, and then you don't seek help. And I have patients who kind of go through these phases, and they keep going, 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 and pushing themselves. Even after they kind of feel really burnout inside, they try to keep masking it, masking it, masking it, until they become severely depressed, and then they end up coming to see me. And I just kind of wish they could come in earlier so that they don't have to suffer unnecessarily, and they can give their gifts to the world in the best possible way.
I always say it's like bricks. You're building this wall, so you've got like a stressful situation and you don't deal with it, and then you add something on top of it, like that self-doubt or not asking for help, and then you just keep building those bricks until you get to that point where it's a pretty solid wall. And in order to be healthy, you have to break down that wall, and it takes a lot of work.
We were talking about the steps. You said that the three things that you think that every leader needs to have to be able to thrive. And so what are those three things that you think
Yeah,
leaders should have?
absolutely. So number one is emotional intelligence. It's interesting. So I'm the host of the Leadership School podcast. I have my own podcast, and I've interviewed leaders from all over the world. And the conversation always, 100% of the time, comes back to emotional intelligence, that leaders need to be emotionally intelligent. And part of that is recognizing, am I okay? Am I doing well? Am I practicing my own well-being methods? And pausing and recognizing that other people need well-being and not just me. So the well-being, the emotional intelligence, am I well enough to ask, to know that I need to take care of myself and that my teammates need to do that as well. The second is vision. Leaders are the ones who carry the vision for a company. So it's the leader is carrying the compelling vision and being able to bring other people with them. So if you don't have the vision of where you want to go, then you're going to have a hard time getting people to follow you anywhere there because they don't know where they're going. So a leader needs to have a compelling vision and needs to have emotional intelligence, and then curiosity. Extreme deep curiosity. Just be really ready to learn everywhere you can. That person who shows up and says, "I don't know if I can do this job." Well, be really curious. So what does it take to do this job? What do you need to know? Who needs to help you? What can you learn? What can other people teach you? And when you show up with a lot of curiosity, and not just for the work, but for the people that you work for and with and who work for you, being curious about who they are, what makes them happy, what's hard for them in their lives, how can you support each other? When you can be really curious as a leader, you're going to be very successful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I didn't realize how fast the time is going because we were having so much fun. So, can you share with our audience, if they want to read more about what about your message and listen to your podcast, how can they reach you?
Yes, absolutely. Please do. My podcast is Leadership School. It's on every podcast platform. But you can also just find me at my website, which is kylacofer.com. My name is spelled KYLACOFER.com. And all of my information is on there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. I got so many tips out of today's program, and my favorite tip was to actually, the tip was cha-cha.
Yeah.
uh, Move around and become curious and become connect with yourself and others, heal and act. So that was my tip. Let me ask the audience. So tell me, what is your favorite tip from today's program? Please share in the comment below or send a message to us through email or whichever platform you are accessing this program. I love hearing from you. And if you love this program, show it by liking and subscribing. And if you benefited from this program, guess what? Others will too. We all want to make a difference. So all you have to do is click the share button and share with somebody else. So when others will benefit, you'll be also be able to bask in the benefits. And if you found the value in our discussion today, we have additional gift from Kyla. It's called 7 Effective Strategies for Navigating Stress. And Kyla, can you just share in 1, 2 sentences what they would get when they get this gift?
Sure. It's a PDF that will just walk you through what are these tips that I have for navigating my stressful life, and it just goes through one at a time. It's just a short sheet. So it just gives you these ideas that you can take with you and think through, especially as you if you practice one of them at a time and just start practicing them slowly each day, then you could do them in a week. And you in a week's time, you have some tools that can just help you for the rest of your life.
Wonderful. Yeah, so if you want to have this gift, please go ahead and go to our website, happyandhealthymind.com, and you'll be able to download this gift and the other resources shared by wonderful guests on this program. This is our gift for you to appreciate for being loyal follower. So let me leave you on this note. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. What are you going to do today? What do you choose? Are you going to let life pass you by? Because when you don't make a choice, you are making a choice of not acting or not making any change. So, are you going to choose not to make any change? Or are you going to choose to take one step, one thing that you learned from today to improve your life by maybe 1%? And decrease the self-doubt, to take steps to build resilience and prevent the burnout and anxiety and depression and other problems. So on that note, stay safe, happy and healthy. Until next time, Dr. Rozina.